Hey everybody, it's me, R.R. Verdi, with Amy Hopkins and another guest host today, Katika Schneider. And today at the Blog Factory, we're going to be talking about villains. What makes them good, what makes them bad, how do you write them, how we like to write them, and what do we want to see in them. So, Amy, do you want to start off and intro anything else, or just start?
I'm very quickly going to mention... I'm really quickly going to mention the fact that the Blog Factory is no longer hosted by a published author and an aspiring author because as of this morning in Australia, my book is now live. It is, of course, a day behind in the rest of the world, so I'm still waiting for you guys to catch up. Hurry up, America. But Dreamstalker is now available on Amazon if you're on the right side of the world or if you're watching a little bit later. So go buy it, guys. Just buy it.
Yes, what she said.
And we'll quickly introduce our special guest today, Kat Schneider, who is an aspiring author, and I have actually read the book that she's going to be publishing in about a month and a half. Did I get that right?
April 1st, so yeah.
April 1st. That is so much quicker than it sounds.
I'm ready for it, but, you know, I'm not sure any of us are ever really ready for our first release. Very nerve-wracking.
I just pushed the button.
You're braver than us.
I was stupid, I'll say that, but whatever, long story.
So Kat is a little bit different from Rana and I. Her first book's going to be an epic fantasy, and oh my goodness, epic it is. I absolutely love it. And she and I have been talking quite a bit about how much she loves her antagonist in her book. He's a pretty crazy guy. I think he's an excellent, well-rounded, in-depth character. And we just sort of got talking to the bad guys that we like to see. And that's what our discussion today is going to be about.
Okay, so who wants to start off with, like, the lead? I guess the first thing I entered is why do we like bad guys? I don't know if you guys want to start with that. Mention your personal favorite bad guys. Doesn't have to be from your own work, but just maybe to give the audience an idea, like just bad guys through famous media that you liked and why, and then touch upon those traits on like how you would write them.
I think I like bad guys that get redeemed in the end, or guys that you think are bad guys and aren't really. I'm such a sucker for a happy ending. So you know, Harry Potter, Snape was my favorite. I just recently finished watching the TV show The Flash, this first season, because that's all we can get, because we're in Australia, we don't get the nice shiny things. And Harrison Wells was a fantastic bad guy. I have to say, I love an evil superhero villain who has really good manners. I love polite villains.
I forgot, in the Flash show, by the end of season 1, did they reveal who he really is or no? It's been a while since I've seen it, so.
Yes, okay, so by the end of season 1, I think he's gone. I think he's dead.
He's not going to be gone from anything because comic book nerd moment. He is Flash's biggest bad guy, so he is not. He is one of them. He's not gone. He will never be gone. He's too important even in the show to be gone.
I have looked up a couple of spoilers. I was so devastated that I had to find out what happens. Yeah, he does come back. I'm not really sure sort of what they do with the new version of him, I guess. I'm excited to find out. But yeah, I love villains who just have a bit of class about them. I think they're so much nicer than the slavering psychopath that's just out to get everybody. I like clever villains.
What I like in villains is, see, I'm Amy, you said you're sucker for a happy ending. I'm sucker for, I like tragedy. I like to see bad things. No, I don't like to see bad things happen to people. That's a terrible thing to say. But I like to see how my characters and other people's characters, fictional people, I don't wish bad on anybody, but how fictional people respond to bad things that do happen to them. I think it's a interesting study in human nature, pretty much. And I think that a character that had at one time been good and had events happen in their life that resulted in them becoming less good, and you get to kind of see them fall. I think that's, for me, that's what makes villains interesting, is that they weren't always necessarily bad. And I think that it kind of ties into the fact that there is a little bit of darkness in every character that you'll have. There is something that will make all of them snap sometime, and I think that it intrigues me how certain things make some characters snap, and how some are just more resilient. So that's how I like to look at villains.
Fair enough. My favorite villains have always been just the well-written ones. I don't care if they're psychopaths, because Hannibal Lecter is a psychopath. He's also one of the most famous villains of all time. But you get it, like the Joker. Legitimate psychopath. But he has reasons. He's not just doing it to be crazy, but he's not doing it because he thinks he's a hero. He knows he's bad, but he's out to prove a point, that people aren't great, that people aren't good, that deep down everybody has a really bad side and they just need to push to let it out. So I think what makes villains good is they just have to have motivation. They can't be there just to be there, but they can be totally bad. They don't have to think they're a hero. They don't have to be tragic or anything. They don't have to have a downfall. They could just be bad. Darth Vader is a really another good one, just because he did have that moment of redemption that you both talked about. He was someone who was good and idolized things and then was pushed down a bad path. My favorite will probably be what was that?
Me.
Okay.
It's my tiny human. She is being distracted by food at the moment, and distracted by food means that she's throwing it across the room.
Okay.
Continue.
My favorite villains will probably be Nicodemus from the Dresden Files, because he's really terrible and evil, but he really does believe in what he's doing, which is the most important part, I think. It's not about being a hero. He doesn't think he's, this amazing person. He knows he's doing terrible and bad things at times, but he is doing it for his own personal cause. And the conviction that's shown and how it's written is really well done. I think he's just one of the best antagonists. Him and Marcone from the Dresden Files.
I was just about to bring him up. I absolutely love Marcone as a character. I love that really pragmatic, well, this is what I need, and I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get it. He does have, I guess, his own
personal code
that he adheres to, which I also think is important, because it just is.
Well, I think, okay, you know what? The Dresden Files just has the best villains. I'll say that, because Laura, Wraith, Mab, Maeve, actually any of the fairies, really, Marcone, Nicodemus, and all the Denarians. God, the Black Court, the Red, I can't think of a bad character I didn't like. Even the Black Council characters were just amazing. So yeah, you know what? There you go. Because he hits all the nails. He's got the psychopaths, the well-written, purely evil ones, the ones who were pushed from grace, and just everything else.
Okay, so here's the question. How do you write a character like that? How do you fill a book with people who are not good guys, but who still suck the reader in?
Honestly, that's how. I've always hated the idea. Well, I've always hated the idea that I've run into this a lot of authors. Someone's like, I need to write this kind of hero. He's got to be this, and I want to represent this ethnic group and this. And speaking as a minority ethnic writer, I've still always thought that was wrong. I think you should just write the character and let them tell you who they are. Because when you're forcing characters into that, then you're trying to write a different stereotype. You're trying to shy away from one to push another, and you have to check off little boxes to put them in. And people are not boxes; they're just not. You will find people from all different ethnicities and backgrounds into all sorts of crazy things: good, bad, weird, strange. We're just people. So I think you could. A lot of it doesn't matter. It's just give them something. Same reason you have something to root for in your hero. Give the villain something that you would root for if you didn't think they were such a bad person.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that a lot. But again, I think in past videos we've touched on the fact, Ronnie, that you're a pantser for the most part when you write, and so am I. I generally have a general direction of where I'm trying to go with my stories, but I have learned over the years that the less I try to control things, the better the story gets. If I try to control every aspect to stick to a certain outline or formula, it gets really stiff for me, and I think that that's part of what makes characters real and relatable. Is you kind of have to quit imposing what you think they should be like on them and just follow and see how they're going to respond to the situations around them. And I think that that goes for antagonists. I think it goes for protagonists. I think it goes for pretty much any character you have. Just let them be individuals, and they'll seem less cookie cutter and seem more real to me.
Right.
One really good resource that I've come across for writing both your good guys and your bad guys is Take Off Your Pants, and now I feel really bad because I'm completely blanking on the name of the author. But Take Off Your Pants is... You've got the book? Or the blank?
No, I have the Kindle version of it. I just never started to actually bother to read it because I thought it'd be interesting to see because it's a book about outlining, but we all know how I feel about that. So.
It isn't. Okay, so straight up, she gives you a way of doing the stuff in the book without actually outlining. The plot is kind of part 4 of a 3-legged stool. You don't need it. And that's what I found really sort of fascinating about her whole process. But a lot of it is sort of going into the characters and their motivations and their backstories and that sort of thing. Sorry. Lots of background noise here today. And I do think that it's worth a read. If you've got it, read it. If you don't have it, go and get it. Because at the very least, like I've even heard a lot of people say that, well, okay, I never write down any kind of notes or outline or plots for my story, but I have a general idea in my head, and when they read this book, they realize they're already doing a lot of the things that are mentioned in it.
Well, that's the thing.
Take Off Your Pants by Libby Hawker?
It's by somebody.
Yeah, that's it, Libby Hawker.
That was what popped up on Amazon, so.
That is absolutely the one.
Another thing I found, which isn't outlining, but it works, is without fully defining a character, define them by 3 traits you want in them. Because that's easy, and characters can have traits. So, like, I remember Jim Butcher was talking about this. Like, he wanted to be able to break down all his characters into, like, 3 traits. So with Michael, I think it was, like, loyal, faith-driven, and, you know, like, trustworthy or something. And if he said those 3 words and mentioned his series, that's a character you would instantly think of. And that doesn't limit you to anything. It sets just, like, the foundation for what the character's morals are, and that's it. It doesn't influence his decisions and everything else, but it gives you a guideline to work with. And I think that's all people need, because nobody knows what people are like. It's the whole thing when you see crazy people on TV. Like, you hear about their neighbors, like, oh my God, I didn't know they were a psychopath. They were the nicest kid in the world, and who knew they were going to go rob a store? And, like, you never see all these facets of people, so you don't know what triggers somebody, what will push them. So it's why I don't like the idea of, like, outlining a character fully. Get some idea. Looks are irrelevant, because a good character shouldn't be defined by their age, physical height, and characteristics, and any of that by alone. So that should be changeable. Like in the Grave Report, many of my characters, if they changed to gender, any of them really, they would still be the same person. I mean, I don't try to base it off like being a woman or a man is super important to them. Like, it's obviously what they are, but they're not defined by that. They're defined by who they are and their actions. And those are all subject to change as time goes on.
Then you've got Graves, who sometimes could be a woman, really. You know, like if it came to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
if it ever did, yeah.
He could be inhabiting a female body, so.
It's possible.
Yep. One of my favorite exercises for getting to know characters and giving them extra dimensions that I picked up a couple years ago was to keep a list of secrets that the character has. And there are secrets that you won't necessarily include in any of your writing. You may not even share them with any people that read your books, but it gives them, letting them carry around secrets, to me, sort of let me help get to know them on a closer level and sort of trust things. And it's kind of fun because you get to walk around with these characters. I'm big on, I follow where my characters lead me. That's why I don't work well with outlines. But yeah, following them around, and you know, they every now and then there's things that they interact with that will relate to one of those secrets, and once you know that it's there, it really helps you understand their reactions to things, and I think that helps give them an extra dimension as well.
I think that's a really good idea. I've not heard of that technique before, but I think it's fantastic. I think just going back to what Ronnie said about how characters are defined, I just really quickly want to point out that that also goes for minority status. If you've got a character who is in there because of their race or their sexuality or whatever it is, because you're trying to represent something that maybe is excluded in a lot of mainstream books, make sure that that is not the thing that defines your character, whether that's a good guy or a bad guy. People are defined by the million different things that make up who they are, not one single facet of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is I do know that that's important. Some people do really want to seek that representation and try to push those points, but you can't let that be the only thing carrying the character, honestly. So I don't know if you want to comment on that for a second.
Sorry, we're playing musical mute today. I've got the screaming child, and it looks like Ronnie's got some background sound as well.
I don't know what's going on, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Hang on, let's feed the monkey a banana and see if that helps. Look, I think we've pretty much covered all the bases, actually. I think the key is make your bad guys...
Make them real people.
Make them real people. Yeah, well, give them real motivation.
Like, my villain, my villain in my storyline is... He intrigues me a lot. I've liked him... I shouldn't say I liked him because he's an indecent person, but that's what kind of draws me to him, is that he comes up with things that I'm like, why would anyone want to be like this? But he's completely comfortable being like that. And so this past year for NaNoWriMo, I was supposed to write a story that actually fit in the arc that I had been currently working on, but my antagonist on my first series decided that he needed to tell his backstory, and I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't going to go very well. And I got some really good dirt on him just by following him and listening to him and letting him be a person that's more than just a bad guy. You know, like he's not bad for the sake of being bad. The things he does are all based on aspects of his life that he's lived through and experienced, and I think that that's important. You know, when you are looking at a villain, you know, even if they're not like actually a villain, you know, like a terrible person, but the person that causes your conflict, they have to have. It's important to investigate the reason that they are the way they are and do the things that they do.
Yeah. I know that I compared your book a little bit to Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight books. It has that same sort of feel for me.
I love that you bring that up, because I seriously, when you told me to read it a while ago, I kept reading as I was going through it, and I finished it finally last night. I kept reading. I was like, who's the guy that she said was bad? I was like, there's some people that are like just dicks, but you know, they're not actually bad people. And then in the last like 100 pages, you're just like, whoa, oh my gosh, yeah, that person is like, there's no redemption there. But you know, and that was kind of something that I really appreciated, is that, you know, like it didn't come out of nowhere, but you gotten so used to just the generally kind of not a decent person to oh my gosh, this person cannot be redeemed, you know, like, and I think that drastic change in there, that you know, I appreciated that as a person that loves their villains.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to this date, look at George R. Martin. I mean, Joffrey. We want villains.
Yeah, he's I think he holds a pretty special place in a few hearts, and I think sometimes it's good to have a character that people just hate. I hated Sadeas in Brandon Sanderson's books. I hated Joffrey.
I did not hate him until the last 100 pages. I was like, okay, he's an indecent guy, but honestly, like, this is the terrible thing for me, is up until the very end of The Way of Kings, everything that Sadius did, I was like, it's justifiable. I can kind of understand. I'm sorry.
He was my. I shouldn't have made the monkey comment. He was my Dolores Umbridge. He is just that he just evokes so much hate and frustration in me. Probably from a little bit earlier than that, because he just is so. And I thought you could kind of go, well, okay, maybe he's going to come around and he's going to be redeemed, and then that stuff happened. And I don't want to give spoilers for anyone who hasn't read the book.
Right. I've been trying to avoid the spoiler side, but yeah, that's kind of where I was too. Is I was like, okay, like I said, everything that he did, I was like, okay, that wasn't very like honest or just, but I could in my mind see how in the given situation, yeah, it made sense, and I was okay going with that until the very end. I was like, oh, this word that I'm not going to say because we're on air, you know, and then that made me love the book so much more, because I was like, when you latch on to someone to just hate, you know, like that,
we're so emotional we can't find the words for it.
Yeah, it invests you so much more.
Okay, so Ronnie, I know that you dropped out for a little bit. Any last tips for writing a really super bad guy?
I don't know why you're asking me. When I get better, I'll let you know. I don't know. Give them just some reason for doing what they're doing, even if it's just they're a psychopath. They don't just make them do it to do it. Give them something, like one form of drive, because no matter who you are, what you're doing, you're not doing it just because. Even Joker doesn't do it just because. Even he has something. Even if it's a crazy, stupid, psycho reason, he still has a reason.
And it's a reason that always carries through everything the character does.
Mm-hmm. Like Joffrey. He was absolutely horrible, but he didn't do it just because kicks and giggles. He had a messed up life. He's an inbred bastard who technically, you know, by inbreeding, like we talked about in the Game of Thrones worlds, he has a higher risk of getting that gene for madness. His dad is this legendary figure that he can't really measure up to, and he has issues. And that's really it. He just has issues. It's not a good reason, but it makes the character good. He just has issues. That's all. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like it's time to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna let Ronnie do the outro today.
Okay. So it's pretty much to close up. You guys learned everything it takes to make a good villain. If you guys have anything better or any other tips, leave a comment on the bottom of the YouTube video, like, and subscribe. Remember, Amy Hopkins' book is out, Dreamstalker, book 1 of the Talented series. Put that into Google. You will find it pretty much anywhere. It's already up for pre-order in America. I think the paperback book is already out here and officially able to be purchased. Every other country. And then Katika Schneider's book, Book 1 Devotion, will be debuting April 1st, if I'm correct, in ebook, and the paperback will either be that day or like the next day, because it doesn't take that long to get that out. And then my book is already up for sale, Grave Beginnings, both in Kindle and paperback, wherever books are sold. And it's a 2015 Best Book of the Year winner. So, yeah, look us up. And thank you for watching.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great week. We'll be doing some more author interviews soon. So make sure you jump over to the blog at theblogfactory.com and hit subscribe. And we'll make sure that we chuck some show notes up. And I'll throw up a link to Save the Cat on both the YouTube channel and the website. So if you're interested, you can go grab it. Have a great day. And thank you so much to Kat for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Bye.